Hi everyone, today we're going to be going over IXL Assignment CHV, Area and Circumference of Circles. So let's start off with refreshing our memory on some circle vocab as well as our formulas. Two very important things to know about a circle, and that is the radius and the diameter. So our radius, that is the distance from the center of our circle all the way to an outer edge. So our radius goes from the center of the circle to one of the outside edges. Our diameter, on the other hand, that goes all the way directly through your circle. So it goes from one end, hits the center, and goes all the way to the other end. So it goes straight through the center from edge to edge. With the diameter and radius, you'll be given a mixture of each and need to make sure that you use the right piece of information in your formulas. With our radius is only halfway across the circle. It's from the center just to one edge. Therefore, the radius is half of your diameter. Flip side of that, since your diameter goes through the center, but it goes edge to edge, your diameter is 2 times the radius. For example, let's say the radius of this circle is 7. Well, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So 2 times 7 is 14. Let's mix it up here. Let's say our diameter instead is 20. Well, the radius is half of the diameter. So half of 20, otherwise known as 20 divided by 2, is 10. There we go. Now, this information is going to come in handy because when we look at our formulas here, sometimes you need the radius, sometimes you need the diameter. Our first formula is for circumference. Circumference is the outside, kind of like the perimeter of a circle. We have two different formulas here. So if you are given the radius, then you can use the first formula. So circumference is equal to 2 times pi times your radius. A lot of times when we work with these problems, we use the approximation 3.14 as pi. Now, if you're asked to find the circumference, but you were given the diameter, you can use the second formula. Circumference is equal to pi times the diameter. You know what? This kind of makes sense because we just talked about a minute ago how diameter is twice the radius. So they're really the same thing. It just gives you a little bit less that you have to do if you just pick between the two formulas. Now, for area of a circle, there is only one. To find the area of a circle, you multiply pi times radius squared. Remember that when you square a number, it's not r times 2, it's r times itself 2 times. So its area is equal to radius squared. If you haven't already, write down these formulas or maybe take a little screenshot of them so that way you can have them for reference until you get them memorized to use on this IXL assignment in any quizzes and tests. Okay, pause the video if you need to, but we're going to go ahead and jump on over to IXL. Here we have our first question for assignment area and circumference of circles that match skill ID CHV. The radius of a circle is 2 feet. What is the circle's area? First thing we should do is look at our question. Are we trying to find the area or the circumference? We are trying to find the area, meaning our formula is area is equal to pi times radius squared. Now we are given the radius both in word form and picture form. The radius is 2 feet. And the IXL directions do tell us to use 3.14 as our approximation for pi. Once you have all of your information identified, your next step is to substitute. So plug in your values into your formula. If we look at our formula, the A is going to stay a variable because the area is our unknown. It's our question. Instead of writing the symbol for pi, we're going to write the approximation 3.14. And we are multiplying that by our radius squared. So multiplying that by 2 squared. Next is to simplify. Let's find out what our area is. We need to follow the order of operations. So you maybe heard of that as PEMDAS or GIMDAS. When we think about the order of operations, the first thing that we see we need to do is that E for exponents. We have an exponent right there. So 2 squared is not 2 times 2. It is, well, it is, but 2 is kind of a funny one. It's 2 times itself 2 times. Kind of a bad example, but that's okay. So it's 2 times itself 2 times. We have area is equal to 3.14 times 4. Now this is where, if you're able to do it by hand, I do encourage you to do so because it is awesome to be able to practice multiplying decimal numbers. However, you do have permission to use a calculator. If you don't have your own calculator, I highly encourage you to use this Desmos one that you see I have in the tab. It is my favorite online calculator. If we go to it right here, I'm going to have to clear this, but you can see that you're able to use it for free. So 3.14, otherwise known as pi, multiplied by 4 is, you can kind of see it through my writing, 12 and 56 hundredths. So our area is 12 and 56 hundredths, and they already have our label there for us, square feet. That would be the area of our circle. Awesome. This time we have a new problem here. Let's see what we're trying to find. The radius of a circle is 3 millimeters. What is the circle's circumference? This time we're finding circumference. With circumference, we do have 2 options. So before I write down my formula, I want to see what they gave me. Did they give me the radius or the diameter? They have given us the radius both in word form and picture form. Therefore, the formula we're going to use to find circumference is 2 times pi times radius. And once again, we are being asked to use 3.14 for pi. All of our information's figured out. Let's substitute so we can find our circumference. C stays a variable. That is our unknown. It's our question. And then we have 2 times pi, so 3.14, times our radius, which is 3 millimeters. Once again, we do want to follow order of operations. However, notice we only have one operation. It's pure multiplication. When this happens, we are allowed to multiply all at once. We are allowed to go to that calculator and type in the entire thing since it's all one operation. It's all multiplication. So we have 2 times 3.14 times 3. I'll show you guys the calculator one more time. So clear it. You can type the whole thing in. 2 times 3.14 times 3. All right, our circumference is 18.84, so 18 and 84 hundredths, and that is millimeters. Very good. Ooh, this is a good one. The circumference of a circle is 12 and 56 hundredths miles. What is the circle's diameter? So this time they gave us the circumference and they're asking us to find the diameter. Ooh. Even though it's a little backwards, we can still use our formulas. So what I'm noticing is the information I'm given is the circumference, and I'm being asked to find the diameter. So the formula I want to use is the circumference formula with the diameter. So C is equal to pi times diameter. Once again, we're using 3.14 for pi. Our steps aren't really super different because we've identified our information, and then the next step is the same. We're going to substitute, we're going to plug in what we know. Only this time your C is not unknown. We know our C, our circumference is 12 and 56/100ths. So that is being substituted in for C. Our pi is 3.14. And then our D is what stays a variable because our diameter is what we're looking for. Now we have a one-step equation that we're solving for D. Well, with one-step equations or any equations, remember when you move to that other side of the equal sign, you do the inverse. So we have 3.14 times D. The inverse of multiplication is division. So we will be dividing both sides by pi. So 12 and 56/100ths divided by 3.14 gives us a diameter of 4. That's not too bad, right? And once again, our label's already there for us, so we don't have to worry about it. So the diameter of this circle is 4. The area of a circle is 28 and 26/100 square yards. What is the circle's radius? Nice. So similar to what we just did, only its area instead of circumference. But once again, our first step is we got to identify our information so we can see what we're working with. We are working with the area, but they have given us the area and being asked to find the radius, and we're still using 3.14 for pi. So because we're dealing with area, we only have one formula. The formula for area is pi r squared. Second step remains the same. Substitute your information in. Our area is 28.26. Pi is 3.14. And radius squared is our unknown. That is what we're trying to find. It stays a variable. All right. Let's solve this equation again. We got to isolate r. We got to get r by itself. So first things first, we need to divide. Divide by that coefficient. Divide both sides by pi 3.14. So 28 and 26/100ths divided by 3.14 gives us 9. Question, are we done? We're not done because if we think back to solving equations, you need to have your variable isolated, and my variable is not isolated, it's an r squared. Once again, we're going to do the inverse. Well, the inverse of squaring something is taking the square root. We are going to take the square root of both sides. It is important to have some of your perfect squares memorized, but if you don't, and you're still working on that, remember what a square means. A square means something times itself 2 times. So think about those doubles when you were working on your multiplication facts. What times itself, so what times what is 9? 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So the square root of 3, oops. So the square root of 9 is 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. That means our radius is 3 yards. Perfect. All right, let's jump up to a higher level just to make sure we didn't miss any types. And we'll make this our final problem. The diameter of a circle is 5 6/10 yards. What is the circle's circumference? The only difference here is we don't have a picture, but to be honest, they always gave us the information in word form as well. So the picture and the visual was nice, but you may or may not have honestly referenced it. What are we finding? We are finding the circumference. Before I decide which formula I want to use, what did it give me? It gave us the diameter. That means the formula we want to use for circumference is pi times diameter. Substitute your information in. We are trying to find circumference. That stays a variable. We are using 3.14 for pi. And our diameter is 5 6/10. If we multiply that out, that's the only operation, only thing we have to do here. We get a circumference of 17 584 thousandths. We do actually have a slight difference here. This is the first time I've noticed in our directions it's talked to us about rounding. It wants us to round our answer to the nearest hundredth. That would be 2 decimal places, because remember with decimal points, it goes tenth, hundredth, thousandth. So if we want to round to the nearest hundredth, so the second decimal place, you look at the number that follows it, and that will identify whether you round up or round down. It's a 4, so 4 and below, you round down, 5 and above, you round up. We're going to round down, meaning our circumference is 17 58 of a yard. Perfect. All right, now it's your guys' turn to practice this. So I hope it's helped. Make sure that you have down those formulas so you can use them. And if you need anything, remember your teachers are only an email or a help session away. Bye.